Hello my friends, welcome back. Today, me and Master Jakub are going to discuss topic myths and facts in the Hollywood movies in the martial art sector, right Master Jakub?
Yes, Master Jakub will speak about using of throwing knife in movies and I about Japanese sword.
It's gonna be really interesting guys, so let's get started.
So Master Jakub, what's the first misunderstanding of true using of knife in the movies?
So first I would say what I see in the movies, it's all the time just spin throwing, you know Master Jakub. The knife just rotates, hits the enemy is down, and always just a rotation.
Even for a very long distance.
Even for longer distances, and in matter of fact this is total nonsense, because for spin throwing you need set up distances. Usually it's around 3 or 4 meters, it depends on the knife. But what you see in the movies is total nonsense, because he don't measure his distance. He's, for example, running, the superhero, right? Throwing from super long distance and always hitting the mark, like to the eye, to the neck, you know, to the vital areas. And for the spin throwing that would be total nonsense. It would be maybe possible if he would tell his enemy like, hey, stop please, I need my distance set up on 3 meters, and then he would be very accurate with the spin throwing and possible even do very big damage. But for the spin throwing, total nonsense.
Yes,
right?
it's completely fictional. And which is distance for knife throwing in a combat scenario?
So in the real combat scenario, I would say if you would use the knife mainly for the destruction, I would start from 1 meter and maybe maximum up to 6 meters, right? In the movies you see crazy distances, 20 meters, stuff like that.
So it's same in case of shuriken, because I am throwing it from 1 meter to about 5 meters for no spin method, because if shuriken is flying so long time, my enemy can react, dodge, etc. So
yes,
maybe very long distance is very big misunderstanding of true knife throwing in movies as well.
Yes, because if you would be throwing from short distances and maybe using also both hands, right, which I can maybe do, it would be very hard to dodge the knife.
Yes.
But like you said, from longer distances, easier, very easier to dodge. Okay, I will show you actually a few examples right now. The spin and versus the no spin throwing. Because that I maybe forgot to mention, in the movies it would be definitely better no spin throwing, because for that you don't need to measure the distances and the knife flies straight like an arrow. It would be definitely way better than the rotational knife. Okay, so let's see a few examples. So like I said guys, only technique that you see in the movies is gonna be spin throwing with a hammer grip like this. The superhero just catch it, he don't actually measure his distance or something like that, and just throw towards the target and run. So let's see how it works actually. Wow, just stick it. So I was actually pretty lucky. Maybe a superhero or stuff like that. I stuck it from there and stuck it from the measured distances. But superhero doesn't have anything common with this. I was just lucky that the measured distance was about on the 2 spin there, and for here it was the measured distance for the 1 spin. Come on, I will show you one example. Because for the full spin throwing you actually have to stand on about 3 or 4 meters. You gotta measure it, maybe put the stick, and you gotta grab it, aim, pull back, let it slide. You know from my channel. Now it was overspinning, so I have to go a little bit closer. Okay, there you go, the bullseye. So you see right away, the full spin, it's not consistent if you don't know the measured distances from the target. It's gonna over-rotate or under-rotate, and it's very difficult to throw it instinctive. That means you don't know the distances from the target. Alright? So very bad for the combat throwing that you see in the movies. Alright? Now I will show you better technique. And now the technique that would be way better in the movies. No spin throwing. That means the knife flies straight like an arrow, and you don't need to know measure distances from the target. So for example, I can be literally super here. I don't have to even look. Throw it, I don't need to know my distance. And knife are sticking very powerful into the target. And that works for the same scenario. Now I was backing up. Now I can go towards the target, you know. So for example, there is a thread I want to walk towards, and look at that. Works perfectly. I can go get very close to the enemy, maybe run away, use this as a distraction, stuff like that. So no spin is definitely very powerful, and I would definitely love to see this more in the movies compared to the spin throwing. As you were able to see with the spin, it will be definitely not so consistent as just with the no spin. So easy and effective. And what about you, Master Jakub? What is the myth about sword fighting?
There are a lot of myths in movies and for example computer games. One of this is, for example, that it's easy to penetrate my enemy in armor. We tested it with good replica of armor and good sword, and it was almost impossible. It's something like the tank. But in some movies, main hero is cut by bad guy with Japanese sword or katana and have very small injury. We tested cutting test for ostromats, tatami omote, or for example that big bodies, and it's possible to very easy in case of good sword and good technique to cut body of pig to two pieces.
Huge.
So amputation of hand or head, it's very fast in case of good sword. So maybe in story, if good guy have to win, it's almost immortal, something like John Wick.
Yes.
But it's not reality. In fact, even very small movement can be deadly in case of rather sharp Japanese sword.
I can just say from my little experience, last time when we was filming with Master Jakub, the katana just touched me to the finger. I was cut so bad, I was literally down, you know. So imagine in the combat you get a huge wound and it's over, you know. It's no way to survive so many cuts like in the movies, right?
And maybe it can be a second myth in case of knife throwing, because it's quite usual that the bad guy is hit with throwing knife and is immediately that. Is it?
Yes,
yes. True?
Another myth in like you mentioned in the knife throwing, it's definitely penetration, because what you see, the bad guy throws and the enemy is dead right away on the first throw, which is total nonsense, especially because in the movies they use such a light knife and very bad knives. I don't know why is that, but if such a light knife would hit you, it would make only maybe little wound. It would have to be so accurate throw, maybe to the eye, that would maybe kill you right away, but it's very little chance.
Even in case of Japanese shuriken, it's not a deadly weapon. It's only weapon to make small injury to your enemy, and after that I am drawing my sword and finish him. So if even a very sharp and good technique throat shuriken will hit you, you can take it and be angry, but not you will be stopped.
Yes, maybe only in one case of maybe this knife. This is a modern knife from the Wolflund Top Dog. This weighs around 260-70 grams. So this can cause serious penetration, but usually we don't see this in the movies. You know, you see very bad replicas, and often, like I said, spin throwing, which would be very difficult to hit the mark. So penetration is definitely big myth, and I want to show you definitely a few examples right now. Bigger knife versus the smaller knife. So like I mentioned, in the Hollywood movies you see often so bad knives, and this is one of them. This is like a Chinese market type of a kunai. It's small, light, it's very dangerous because knives like that are bouncing from the target so bad, and the penetration power it's minimal for this knife. Compared to something like this, this is our Top Dog from the Wolflund. As you can see right away, thickness, the length, weight, it's totally different. So it's definitely a huge difference in stuff like that, because with the cheap kunais, as I was mentioned before, in the expandables you can see like penetration through the whole neck, you know, crazy. So just I will show you real quick. Even for the ordinary house pin, we're gonna see right away. So let's see. So let's check it out. First the kunai, I was trying a good throw. So let's see. And that was not the bad penetration, but you have to keep it in mind that with such a little tip, the guy would have maybe clothing, the telephone, wallet, it could hit anywhere and it won't do anything. You would have to be so super lucky with such a small penetration to hit only like a vital point, maybe like an eye or the neck or something like that in the movie. So that could cause some serious damage, alright? I don't want to say like this can't cause damage, it definitely can, but in the movies you see, like I said, very bad knives. But let's see the penetration from this knife. Look at that. Even the wound is definitely way bigger on the target, and look at the penetration. Almost the whole blade, and with the weight that would cause serious damage even through the clothing. So I would say if in the movies they want to portray knife throwing that like that do like some serious damage, maybe kills, they should maybe use like the heavier and the bigger knives, or maybe even the short tanto, wakizashi, because those we even tried and it's definitely can cause crazy, almost Hollywood-like penetration.
And here is one more point of view, and it is throwing knife ability. Because if it's an actual deadly fight scenario, I'm in big stress. But it's very easy to be not successful to hitting your enemy properly. So maybe,
of course,
can stop like this.
Yes. This is very good mentioning, because I'm like saying like everybody is champion in the backyard, but if you come to the real competition and compete, the stress is starting, and you would be so surprised that even the best throwers in the world, in the competition, they can start dropping the knives right away, and in the practice they can be best, you know?
It's completely same like in the case of the Japanese sword. We are cutting competition or tameshigiri taikai, and it's a very big combination of technique ability and psychical ability of mind. So in all movies, all good guys are superheroes, super concentrate, but for level like in movies, you have to practice 2-3 hours a day only, blade trying.
Dedicate basically whole life, right?
Yes.
And what's another myth, Master Jakub, about the swords?
Maybe if you can see a movie like Kill Bill, etc. After hours of fighting with a lot of enemies, your blade is shining like this. But in an actual fighting scenario, it's a lot of chips in blade, not only blade, but having hands, etc. is stained by blood, etc. Sword can be a little bit damaged, banned, for example. Right. Yes. In one very good Japanese history book, Nihon no Rekishi no Butai no Ura, it's written that in a true fight it's possible to kill mostly 5 enemies. After that, your blade is in a bad condition because of some damage. You can see it, for example, in case of Ikeda Jiken. It was very legendary fight of Shinsengumi in Kyoto in half of 19th century. And after this fight, it's some inscription of swords of fencers, and it's a lot of defects in blades, hakobore, hagire, etc. So very big damage of blades after true fight, because everybody is fighting for life and using very big power for cuts. So maybe shining blades after hard fighting is very big nonsense. If I'm cutting somebody in my sword is rest of my enemy's lunch, etc. So it's not so nice.
Yes. And Master Jakub, what is like a most frequent myth that people ask you on the lectures?
Often I'm asked about possibility of cutting of silk falling into the blade like in the movie Bodyguard. So we tried it in the first episode of Lords of the Blades. Of course, it was impossible because even a very sharp sword, which is rather sharp, it's possible to shave my hair from a hand as sharp is. It's impossible to cut it. We tried first time throw this silk into the air and after that cut it in air, but only a small scratch was in silk. And in the finish we fixed silk for some pole and cut it. And in this case it was possible to penetrate silk, not completely, but it was not so clean cut like in the movie. So of course Japanese sword is perfect weapon made by very specific method from best material called tamahagane, but it's not lightsaber from Star Wars, so have some physical limits.
So guys, if you have some interesting questions or maybe you have some suggestions what other myth you know from the Hollywood movies or the martial arts, let us know in the comment section below, because we think with Master Jakub that this is very interesting topic and we can maybe more explore it into the future. Would you like to add something, Master Jakub, or something?
I suppose it's also share, like, comment and
subscribe. See you next time.
Sarabaja.